Hi, welcome to another edition of North Shore Journal. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski, and I have as my special guest today, David Bean. And David is the president of a local company called Dermal Photonics. David, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah. And just so to give our audience a little bit of an idea what we're going to be talking about, of course, we all know that the news on the COVID virus now is becoming rather bleak going into this winter with the infection rates at all-time highs. But today we have some good news, positive news about the fight against the COVID virus. And I will say that David's company, Dermal Photonics, has developed a wearable temperature monitoring device. And people say, well, gee, I can measure my temperature with a thermometer. Why do I need his device? So, David, tell us about the device that you've developed.
Sure, I'm happy to. So our wearable device is an FDA-compliant medical monitoring device, meaning you're going to get an accurate medical-grade temperature. But in addition to that, it monitors you continuously throughout the day. And just like we have a circadian rhythm with our sleep and wake cycle, we also have a rhythm with our temperature throughout the day. So it'll set up a baseline. It'll get to know each individual within the app, and you'll see your own private data, which is secure, but it'll tell you how that baseline is going. And you often spike fevers when you're sleeping. So it's important to wear it while you're sleeping, but it also will know if you're too hot or too cool in any given period of day, which will indicate a sign of illness. And we've seen this with clinical studies that people are often ill in the evening, or they're hotter or colder in certain periods of the day that indicate illness that you can't get if you just do spot checks.
Right. Now, let's just back up a little bit. And for the benefit of our audience, David, they should know that a fever, a rise in your temperature, is the #1 most common symptom of COVID, correct? I think something like 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 people that have it. So they may have coughing and they may have sore throat and aches and inability, to smell or to taste. But fever is probably 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 people show a high elevated temperature, correct?
That's right. In fact, the CDC says it's between 83% and 99% of people that get COVID spike a fever. The reason why there's a range is because a lot of times they don't know because people haven't been monitored more continuously, right? And sometimes they don't catch it, where our system can catch it.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about how important it is for the continuous monitoring, but let's talk a little bit of nuts and bolts. Now, the device that you have is about the size of a quarter. Do you have one there that you can show us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like what I might put into my computer is like a little flash drive, a little memory stick, correct?
That's correct. It's about the size of a quarter.
Yeah. And so I see some things in there. So tell us what's inside that thing, unless it's a manufacturing secret.
No. In fact, it's transparent. You can see everything inside. So you can see a silver battery on the front, the logo, and the microprocessor here. And then on the back side, you see a silver disc. And this is what transmits the temperature reading to the microprocessor on the front. And then you also see a little QR code, and that's how you connect it to your cell phone.
Right. So and people would put this under their arm, right, in their armpit, just below the crease of the armpit. Is that correct?
That's correct. It only takes about 10 seconds to you peel an adhesive patch, you put it on the back side of this, and then underneath your armpit.
Right. And so you were saying that you can then get a readout on an app on your smartphone, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. And so how does that work? When you buy one of these, do you have to download the app from a website, or how does that work?
So when you open the box, okay, you take out and you see the device is stuck to a card. You can peel this off just like when you get a credit card in the mail. And then there's a set of instructions. And the first piece on the instructions is to you scan the QR code with your phone, It automatically pulls up the page. You just click download. Once you've downloaded, the app itself will give you instructions. And then these are also supplemental instructions on how to do it in paper form as well.
Now, I noticed a big NIRA there. What does that stand for? Or does it stand for anything?
So it's our brand name. Nira is our brand name of the product.
Okay.
And then temp is the product. So it's the NiraTemp.
Okay. And now it sends, I like you to make sure I like to make sure our audience understands this point. It sends this data continuously. Why is that relevant?
Because as I mentioned before, you never know when you're going to spike a fever, and often you don't know that you're running warm. It also gives you daily data on how your rhythm's going. So we all know that, for example, women often get a little hotter during their pregnancy periods, and often women trying to get pregnant, they want to see how that cycle goes. Much in a similar way, when your body is off due to illness, fighting an infection, your temperature rhythm will be off. And this will pick up that change in temperature rhythm. And in addition, based on how that change looks, the signature, we can tell potentially what you're sick with.
So when you first use this, are you then setting up a kind of a baseline of your biorhythm or your temperature rhythm during the day that you can then compare, so that you don't freak out if all of a sudden you're showing a high temperature, but that's just your normal body rhythm, temperature rhythm?
That's correct. I mean, if you look at the graph, yeah, so you'll see there's a dashed line, which is your baseline temperature for each hour of the day. It dashes throughout the 24-hour cycle. And then the green below it shows you your current temperature for that point in time. And then above it, there's an orange line, which changes from hour to hour. That's your warning level. And it changes based on a difference between where you should be and a limit where something's wrong. And then there's a red line above that, which is the alarm level. So for example, you could be 98.5 degrees in the middle of the day and be perfectly within normal limits. But if you wake up at 98.5 degrees, you're actually running a fever. So it's the same temperature, but based on your rhythm, you could be off if that temperature is at one part of the day compared to another.
Right. Now, these, obviously you're selling these now. Now this device is FDA compliant and meets all the standards for use, correct?
That's correct. Yep, and we're selling it legally as a medical device.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Are these available for purchase now? Can I go into a drugstore to get it, or do I have to buy it online, or how do I buy one of these if I wanted to buy one?
So today you can buy it on our website, NiraTemp.com.
Okay.
And in the near future, within a couple weeks, this will be rolled out across the Bay State and New England at Staples, at local Staples office stores.
Okay. And why at Staples as opposed to something like CVS or a pharmacy kind of an outlet?
So Staples has a whole section on COVID as it relates to offices as well as consumers. So you can buy thermometers there of various types, including this one, but also cleansing products, masks, and other things. What's nice about this product is it does work very well with organizations. So if everyone in a given organization wears the device and they see that they're off, they can stay home, not enter the office or the campus, and then prevent illness from spreading in their organization.
Now, I'd like you to amplify on that. So you can buy an individual version that we talked about. You can monitor on your own cell phone, but also there's an organizational version which provides a web-based dashboard, correct?
Yes.
So tell us give us an example of an organization that would use that and how they would use that.
Of course. So in the consumer version, if you buy it just for yourself, you can share with family members and they can share with you. And then in the app, you can see their data that they share with you. And you also get alerts by either in-app notifications or SMS text or email or all three. So it's quite interactive there in terms of sharing. It's all based on opt-in. With the organizations, you can likewise share with your organization. So if everyone in a given organization decides to implement this, they all share with that organization, and then the administrator, who's allowed to see the organization data, then gets information and charts and alerts as to who is ill, and if they're on campus or at the office and ill versus home. So obviously, if someone's ill and they're on campus or at the workplace, then that should obviously be addressed to prevent the spread, right? And so this will catch not only disease, but it catches the first onset of disease. And that's where ideally you want to get people quarantined, ideally at home, so that they don't spread to others.
Right. So in other words, if I were at a workplace that required me to, that took my temperature as I walked in the door, I may already be running a fever and I may already be infected or be infecting people, whereas this would catch me at home or before I got a chance to get into work, correct?
Exactly. And actually in the morning, you're your coolest that you'll be all day. That's just how the cycle works. You cool down when you sleep. You're coldest when you wake up. So we've had many cases where employees had a fever while they slept for many, many hours, and they actually were quite sick. But then they cooled down and they were just fine when they got up in the morning, and they felt fine. They were completely, quote, asymptomatic. And a lot of people will say temperature doesn't work because there's so many asymptomatic people. Well, this actually catches those asymptomatic people and basically says, you know, look, you shouldn't go to work, you shouldn't go to school or on campus because you've been sick in the last day or several days, depending on the policy.
Now, the data that is sent to, let's say, in an organizational setting, it's all encrypted, correct? So
that's correct. All the data is encrypted and private, and it's all shared only on an opt-in basis. So the organization won't see your data unless you share it with them. Same with other family members, et cetera.
Now, are you looking, I read somewhere, heard that, are you still looking for pilot organizations to do some kind of beta testing or some implementation with you now, David?
That's correct. Thank you for bringing that up. So we have a couple schools trying it out, a couple healthcare organizations trying it out, a couple dentist offices, et cetera. But yes, we're looking to partner with organizations that are looking to try it. And they can try it on a temporary volunteer basis. So typically a percentage of their workforce or their organization agrees to voluntarily do it, typically 40, 50%. And then if that's good experience, then they make it across the board. And then we'll actually give discounts for organizations that are willing to partner in this regard.
Right. And what if they want to contact you in that regard? Can you give us a website or an email address?
Yeah, if you go to NiraTemp.com, they can fill out the organization or contact us form, and then we'll get that and respond.
Right, and we're showing that on the screen right now for our viewers. Now you have the last I heard, you had about 13 employees. Before you started on this venture, I saw the picture of your employees, and I've counted about 12 or 13 people. You must have much more than that now.
So we're up to about 15, 16 people, yes.
Yeah. And your manufacturing facilities are here in Peabody. You're correct, and then you have some manufacturing overseas that you're doing?
That's correct. We do all the final assembly and final packaging and testing here in Peabody, Massachusetts, in an industrial park. And we do get some of the components from overseas. And we are starting to assemble some things overseas for the overseas market.
Yeah. Now, what sort of a volume need are you working up towards? Have you been able to figure that out, or is it too early on the curve to kind of guess at that?
We've actually designed the product for scale and designed our tooling, our capacity constraints for scale. So we can scale to 500,000 units produced per month. And what we're seeing in the pandemic is, although vaccines are moving forward quite nicely with some good results, they won't be available to the mass market until April or May of next year.
Right.
In the meantime, with people staying indoors, there's a tremendous spread of the virus. So we need better tools. Even masks are not preventing the spread as much as we'd like, but this is a much better solution in that it prevents people that are sick from entering groups, and also encourages those that are off and think they might be infected to get tested based on real data.
And you mentioned Staples. Is it available? If I walked into the Staples store here at the mall, would they have it there today?
They should have it there within the next 2 weeks.
Okay. And what is, we didn't talk about that, but what is a kit, or, you know, the box you had before? I'm assuming that's what I get if I went into Staples.
Well, there's a couple options, as you can see. This is the starter kit. So when you open the box, you get the laser itself with the not the laser, the thermometer itself with the instructions. But then there's also a month's worth, a full 30 adhesive patches.
Okay.
Okay. And then also at Staples and online, you can buy additional adhesive patches. We have 3 forms of the patches. We have the classic version, which is a medical grade, very soft and durable. We also have an active grade, which is for sports or people that are very active, and then a deluxe, which is for those that have sensitive skin.
Right.
Or for young people.
Yeah. Now, so would I need to, if I was a user, would I change that patch every day, or how long could I keep that on?
Most people change it every day just for hygiene purposes. It's the same adhesive that a lot of people use with glucose monitors that people wear for 7 to upwards of 30 days for glucose monitoring. But that's on their arm or on their side. Underneath your armpit, of course, you're going to want to bathe more frequently. So typically people will change it once a day. Typically when they shower, they'll take it off. It actually releases really well with water. So it's good to get it wet, pull it off as it's wet, set it aside, and then after you've groomed for the day and gotten dressed and put on deodorant, let the deodorant dry for about 5 minutes, and then adhesive, stick it to your underarm area.
And did we, I don't think, so what is it, what is the selling price of that right now? If I were to buy it at Staples, what are they selling it for, do you know?
The starter kit is $49.99, yes.
Wow, that's very, very modest for something, for a device like that.
It is. Not only is it medical grade, but the battery lasts a full year without charging. So we wanted to make this as simple as possible. So it's similar to a quartz watch. You just never have to worry about it. You get it up, you put it on each day, and you know the battery's good for several years. This is good for 1 full year.
Yeah. Well, this is wonderful news, David, and I want to thank you for being my guest today. I would like to let our viewers know that you've been watching North Shore Journal. I'm your host, Walt Kosmowski, and we'll see you next time.